Welcome back to the Dragon's Den. This is SinDragonLord, and this is week number 7 of the Global Pokemon Society Draft League Season 10. So, this week, we are going against the SimiwiniSears. This one is kind of a big one for me. So, last season, there was a tad bit of controversy. I was streaming top 8, and the SimiwiniSears were my opponent. And I had won the match 2-0. But it was appealed because game 1 went into time. It was appealed that had the match been able to continue, that the SimiwiniSears would have ended up winning that match. The rules committee of the Global Pokemon Society sided with Simi on this one, and they gave game 1 to him. So normally you'd be like, oh well, you won game 1, I won game 2, let's settle this in a game 3. Here's the problem. Chat had asked me to play a fun game with this coach for stream, and I agreed. I wasn't really making the best moves at all. I was just kind of trying out different things and whatnot. And I ended up losing that game because I'd already thought that I had the match won, so I wasn't really trying to put my sweatpants on too tight. You know what I'm saying? But they ruled it that not only did he win game 1, but they also ruled that fun game 3 as the deciding as the deciding game for the match. So rather than just playing out game 3, a different game 3, they used that, what I was under the impression of was a fun game, and used that as the match ending result, which I thought was kind of silly. Because I had the VODs to prove it, I showed chat logs to prove it. I was fully under the impression that this was a fun game, but so I ended up losing in top 8 because of that. I went from what I thought was a 2-0 victory to a 1-2 loss. And it cost me going into top 4. So now it's kind of a situation where I feel like I have a lot to make up for now. He's got a pretty decent looking rain team here. I mean, he's got the Pelipper Barraskewda core. He's got a Moongus, which is always a problem in VGC. Probably one of the best Pokemon in restricted formats. Got a Pachirisu, which is the 2014 World Champion, and it also has the ability to redirect electric attacks away from Pelipper and heal itself, making it more tanky and bulky than probably it should be, right? He's also got Squawkability, which is one of my MVPs from last season, with the Intimidate Parting Shot access. Not that I'm anticipating him to really bring that because of Annihilate. I said that a couple weeks ago with Mid-Valley, and I didn't think he would bring his Tauros, but he actually big-brained me and brought Mirror Herb with the Tauros. That way he would get a Defiant boost when he intimidated me. So that was actually really smart on his end. That doesn't really apply here, I wouldn't think. I mean, I guess you could bring an Intimidator and give like Mirror Herb to Barraskewda, but that requires a bit more setup because that requires getting the Intimidate, having Barraskewda on the field, and not having any other boost happen prior to that. So, what am I anticipating him to bring? I am anticipating, I might be wrong, but I'm anticipating that he's going to bring the entire left side. And of his C tiers, I'm thinking he's going to bring Apple Time. Now, could I be wrong? Absolutely, I could be wrong. That's just my initial guess. So as you can see on the left side, that is what we plan to bring as my shared side that wants to fall apart on me right now. Go. So let's get into it. So Standard Annihilate, slightly more special bulk than normal. I was torn between if I want to go with Careful Nature or strictly Adamant. I think I'm going to stick with Adamant. Mainly because the main threat to Annihilate is the Pelipper. I put Terra Grass on it, that way it could handle Amoonguss a little better and not have to deal with redirection from like Rage Powder and things like that. So yeah, as long as I'm able to get the Pelipper out of the picture, which easier said than done, obviously, but that it should be good. We're obviously bringing the Grafai. Prank Sunny Day seems really solid here. The last time that I brought Grafai to stun weather, it didn't go that great for me. But well, we've learned from that experience. So the moves that I have on it is Taunt, Super Fang, Encore, and Sunny Day. So I have Taunt on here because he's got two Pokemon that are going to be really annoying. Potentially the Bronzong too. So being able to taunt, prevent like things like Spore, Rage Powder, Follow Me, things like that, is going to be kind of important, especially when you consider that I'm bringing the Pikachu. And I was really back and forth on Pikachu. I wasn't sure if it was worth it for me to bring, just because of the very obvious Pachirisu that he's probably going to bring. I mean, why wouldn't he bring it, realistically? But anyway, so the thought process here is, if he does go for like a Pachi Pelipper lead, and I do go for a Grafai Pikachu lead, for instance, being able to fake out turn 1, bring up the sun, and then turn 2, protect Pikachu, and taunt the Pachirisu. Excuse me, I forgot what I was talking about there for a second. The whole idea with that is being able to make sure that the Pachirisu can't use Follow Me, which means that whatever partner he's trying to protect is super vulnerable, whether that be that Pelipper or not. Now, a lot of Pelipper, excuse me, there are two Terra types that I am anticipating from the Pelipper. There's one that's the most standard, and there's the one that's probably the smarter one to do in the given situation. The most common is, I believe, is Terra Ground. For obvious reasons, turn your ×4 weakness into an immunity. Which is why I have Grass Knot on the P. However, if I were him, I would probably go Terra Grass. Here's why. You turn your ×4 weakness into a resistance, and you also resist the other two means of attacking a potential Terra Ground Pelipper, that being grass and water. So, if I'm predicting that, there's a couple other reasons why. If you're Terra Grass on the Pelipper and you have Rain Up, you also kind of eliminate your fire weakness, so the only thing you're really weak to is like Bug and Flying. And you have super effective Hurricane to deal with any sort of like bug types, which I don't actually have. I also don't really have much in the way of flying types either. On my squad in general. So that would probably be the better way to go. Now, of course, the one caveat, the one weakness to that strat would be if I'm able to get up Sun, and then I have Tauros, and then Raging Bull is Sun boosted and super effective. So, I mean, there's a give and take. It just depends on what they feel is more valuable. I'm doing my best to be prepared for both scenarios. I also have Weavile to cover for a Terra Grass Pelipper as well. So, give and take. So anyway, explaining the Pikachu. There's two reasons I decided to bring Pikachu. One, because it's really good into Pelipper. Yes, they have Pachirisu, but as I already mentioned, if I'm able to get it set up correctly, Pachirisu won't be able to taunt. I won't be able to follow me and redirect Thunderbolts into Pelipper. Um, and the other thing that Pikachu has to offer me is it has Lightning Rod, which means the Pachirisu can't nuzzle me, which can get really annoying. Having it 50-50 to be able to attack that turn is really annoying, especially with a team as bulky as his is. I mean, Barrascuda is like the only exception to his, like, as far as my prediction goes. The Barrascuda is like the sole exception for his team not having much in the way of bulk. So, not being able to attack could be the difference between me knocking something out that I really need to knock out, or worst case scenario, losing. So having that redirection and being able to make sure that Nuzzle isn't a viable option is important. Now, I was torn between two different moves for the fourth move slot. It was either going to be Electric Terrain. The reason for this is all my Pokemon are grounded, and that would mean that Amoonguss can't put anything to sleep. Or I go Grass Knot. I ultimately decided on Grass Knot, and here's why. In the event that Pelipper decides to Terra Ground, I want to have something to hit it with. And with Grass Knot, it's a 2-hit KO on Pelipper, assuming it goes for Terra Ground. If in the team, because we have to share Terra types prior to the match starting, so if he reveals that he is not a ground Terra type and he's like grass or something else, then that obviously might change my game plan, but that's to be determined. So yeah, mostly the Pachirisu has the ability to kind of keep Pikachu in check, but Pikachu also has the ability to keep Pachirisu in check because in the Grafai Pikachu lead that I had mentioned earlier, standard Pachirisu. He could spice it up, but it was standard Pachirisu. The only move that he could use against me would be Super Fang. Because he can't follow me, he can't nuzzle. If he has Protect, he can't Protect. So with Lightning Rod and Taunt, the only thing he can go for is Super Fang, which means as long as I'm, able to deal with the partner, Super Fang is not doing anything. And especially if I have like Annihilate Bout, Super Fang's not doing anything to me. So I have until the Encore wears off to deal with that Pachirisu. Excuse me. I've also considered taking off a move on Annihilate and putting Taunt on it as well. Just so that way I can, keep up the pressure. But I'll decide that later. I still got a little bit of testing to do, but anyway, I've explained Pikachu enough. Let's go on to the next. We have Hypno. This is a new edition. I did not bring it last time. But I am bringing it because in testing it actually does pretty well into the team. With Terra Ghost, it can't be faked out. I don't think he really has too much fake out pressure, but he also cannot Super Fang me. With Pachirisu, so that's just another thing of trying to keep that Pachirisu in check. It also, under the correct circumstances, can deal big damage. After a nasty plot, Hypno is able to one-shot Amoonguss, and is able to do big damage to everything else. And I have Shadow Ball on there to cover for Bronzong, which is also why I'm Terra Ghost, is to give a little extra oomph to the Shadow Ball to be able to deal more damage to the Bronzong. We also have Trick Room and Nasty Plot. We have Trick Room because there are some other members of his team that are really fast, and I would like to try to, once I'm able to deal with the kind of slower, bulkier threats, once he starts going into an endgame of his faster threats being a problem, I would like to be able to set up Trick Room. Or if he starts off fast and strong, I'd like to be able to set up Trick Room to sort of control the speed tiers a little bit. Then Hypno by itself is not the fastest, so it can actually do pretty well under Trick Room itself. So, and then also we have Insomnia on here, just as another answer for Amoonguss. We have a lot of answers for Amoonguss, which is ultimately why I decided not to go Electric Terrain on Pikachu. We have Weavile, and we decided to throw a Lumberry on it this week. Mostly because I don't want it going to sleep. I don't want it paralyzed. I want to try to have as many answers to status as possible. And I feel like I've done a pretty good job with my team composition this week. It took a lot of theory crafting. And in testing, it's worked out pretty well. So let's see if that works out in the actual match. We have Beat Up, Icy Wind, Ice Spinner, Fake Out. So Icy Wind, again, just for speed control, just trying to, if I need to in a pinch, being able to control the speed tiers. Now, Barraskewda does outspeed Weavile. There's just no way around it. Like, I think if he went Adamant and Rain's not up, we might outspeed, but I think that's a bit of a stretch. I think Barraskewda would still outspeed, just because base 136, that's Iron Bundle levels of speed. So, but, yeah. And I think I went Terra Ground on here because I was contemplating putting Terra Blast on it. That way I can deal with the Pachirisu and also be immune to Nuzzle, but I probably will end up changing that. I probably will end up changing that just because I don't have the Terra Ground and I have a Lumberry, so I probably don't need that Terra typing, to be honest with you. And then finally we got Tauros. We got Safety Goggles. We got Willow, Raging Bull, Body Press, Protect with the Terra Water typing. It's just a standard Tauros that we usually bring. Having access to Intimidate cuts off Barraskewda's power, which outside of like Pachirisu, Barraskewda is like the main thing I'm kind of concerned about. As far as like not having like a whole lot of answers for. I mean, I can set up Trick Room, but Barraskewda can get out of hand and quick, especially if he decides to do like Mirror Herb with like Intimidate strats, and I'm just not seeing it coming. If he does bring Intimidate, I'm going to assume that's what he's doing, because Mid-Valley Meows did the same thing in their buds, and I'm sure they've done plenty of theory crafting and testing for me. So that's more or less that. Alright, so I've rambled on for about almost 20 minutes now. Let's just get into the battle portion of the video right about meow.